In the words of Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade.
Hooah!
Driven by an extravagant performance by Al Pacino, Scent of a Woman is the story of Frank Slade, a blind, retired Army colonel who hires Charlie Sims, a poor college student on the verge of expulsion, to take care of him over the Thanksgiving weekend. The beginning of the weekend sees Frank take Charlie to New York, where he reveals to the student that he intends to visit his family, have a few terrific meals, sleep with a beautiful woman, and finally, commit suicide. The film follows the mismatched pair over the course of the weekend, as they learn about life through their series of adventures, and the audience learns about the importance of support networks through the evolution of the pair's relationship. Moreover, Brest's articulative use of cinematic techniques also exemplifies the importance of support networks throughout the film. Brest uses windows to portray Slade's sightlessness and unhappy emotional state. In fact, in almost every scene of Frank's, there is a window. These windows are motifs. The windows surrounding Frank provide a constant reminder of seeing, telling, and retelling the audience what Frank cannot physically do. Windows offer seers a view, ideally a picturesque vantage point to the outside world. Sadly, windows offer Frank nothing but a reminder of his handicap. Also, the only view the windows offer the audience in Scent of a Woman is into the melancholy and troubled mindset of Frank, who finds it difficult to live without his sight, particularly because an accident he caused took his sight from him. In addition, the view is obstructed by glass, meaning there is always a barrier between seers and seen. Considering the motive this way, the windows placed around Frank in Scent of a Woman highlight more than Frank's sightlessness. They are symbolic of the isolation that Frank creates for himself by his actions. With this in mind, a scene towards the film's conclusion, when Frank drops Charlie back off to school, becomes more significant. Surprisingly, Frank grabs Charlie's face and feels its structure, identifying Charlie's facial features. Figuratively, the window is broken in this scene. The limousine's window is down, so Frank's hands reached right through to grab Charlie's face. The limited view and obstruction of glass from the window is set aside, and Frank, although blind, finally gets to see Charlie. This brief moment is one of the film's most favourable, and one of its strongest shots. It exemplifies how this unlikely support bond between the pair has allowed Frank to once again see. One of the final scenes of the movie is set in the prep school which Charlie attends. Ironically, it involves him having seen some vandals desecrating the headmaster's car. He is now called upon in a courtroom setting to recount what he saw or face expulsion. Brest's use of on-screen character placement is open to interpretation. The common theme of left to right in Western society is widely apparent. Reading and writing are done from left to right. Time is documented from left to right. Even volume indicators on devices such as the iPhone show the magnification of sound from left to right. Thus, it is not unnatural to think that things evolve from left to right. In this scene, the Willis family is sat with the child viewed to the left of the parent. This can be an indication of the expected evolution of the child. Without proper support networks, George Jr. will evolve into George Sr., a dishonorable man. On the other hand, the audience views Frank Slade to the left of Charlie Sims. Opposite to the way of evolution, the old man is to the left of the young one. Consequently, through the effects of this support network, Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade turns from a miserable, blind, vicious person to someone more like Charlie. For once in his life, he stood up for something because he meant it. Another narrative which exemplifies the importance of support networks is Past the Shallows, written by Fauvel Parrott. The dignity of movement of an iceberg, Hemingway said, is due to only 1/8 of it being above the water. The other 7/8 of a book, the emotional core, must exist below the surface, its existence only called into the reader's mind by the truthfulness of what is written. To write this emotion, this hidden part, Hemingway would tell us, is to descend into sentiment. It's a lesson Fauvel Parrott has taken to heart. As seen on pages 248 and 249, Parrott uses a flashback and its symbolic importance to exemplify both Hemingway's words as well as the significance of support networks. The book is rounded out by the repetition of a scene earlier in the book, only this time from Miles' point of view. He is at the beach with his brother Harry, who is searching about for beachy treasures. The waves are calling to Miles, but he puts his board aside to help Harry with his hunt. It is a small moment, pitifully small, but the emotion behind it is so clear and full and desperately sad that it would move even the most cynical readers. The lesson of Hemingway's iceberg has never been more dutifully applied. This piece is undoubtedly one of the most resonating in the book. It is symbolic that life without support networks will always be missing something. Harry never would have found anything without Miles' help. As such, through the use of flashback and symbolism, Perret indicates to the reader the importance of support networks. Furthermore, on page 192, Perret uses foreshadow and symbolism to signify the importance of support networks once again. The growing hole in Harry's shoe is symbolic of the increasingly difficult role that Miles has taken upon himself to take care of Harry. Moreover, it foreshadows that one day the hole will become too large, leaving Harry unable to wear the shoes. This can be translated into assuming that one day Miles will not be able to take care of his Harry, and this abrupt end of Miles' support will not end well for Harry. Finally, the slight movement of the big toe will leave it poking out of the shoe. Harry finds himself at a possible tipping point. Perret once again uses foreshadow to portray Harry's dire situation. It is portrayed that if Harry is not careful, he will lose Miles' support and find himself in trouble. It is clear that Miles recognizes this as well, shown in the last sentence of the quote. In reiteration, the use of literary and cinematic techniques used by authors and directors clarify and provide depth to the story being told. They emphasize the human experience, and in the case of Past the Shallows and Scent of a Woman, epitomize the importance of support networks. Parallel to each other, Brest and Perret both create characters who need support. They individualize the characters' issues and their supporting characters' assistance. Consequently, the varying experiences comprehended by the responder become interpreted and finally show the significance of support networks. Therefore, it is evident that both creators dissect and indicate the importance of support networks through the diverse human experiences of four polar opposite characters.